The breakup of the Beatles is one of the most talked about moments in music history. Messy, emotional, and unforgettable. But through all the drama, one person often stood out as the most sympathetic member of the group: Ringo Starr. Unlike John, Paul, or George, Ringo wasn't caught up in endless power struggles. He just wanted to play the drums, make music, and keep the friendship alive. But even the calmest Beatle had his limits, and when tensions exploded in the studio, Ringo found himself walking out. Not once, but multiple times. Think about this. When fans first saw the Let It Be movie in 1970, what did it show? A band falling apart. There were awkward silences, frustrated faces, and barely any joy left in the room. To many, it looked like the magic was gone. But decades later, Peter Jackson's Get Back documentary flipped the script. Suddenly we saw the smiles, the laughter, and the light-hearted banter that never made the final cut. The Beatles were still capable of joy, even in their darkest chapter. Yet the cracks were real. George Harrison famously packed up and left during the sessions, and everyone knew things couldn't last forever. Still, when Abbey Road came along, the band decided to give the world one last masterpiece. This wasn't just another record, it was their farewell gift. They knew the end was coming, and if they were going to go out, it had to be with something extraordinary. Sure, they bickered over songs. Paul's quirky Maxwell's Silver Hammer annoyed some of them, but then you had Ringo's Octopus's Garden, which brought back that sense of childlike fun. It was a reminder that even in chaos, they could still find moments of pure happiness in music. And then came Side B, the legendary medley. Song after song stitched together into a seamless journey. A musical roller coaster that captured everything the Beatles had been. Sun King with its dreamlike beauty. The stunning transition from Golden Slumbers to The End. It felt like the band was saying goodbye in the most poetic way possible. But behind the brilliance, the pressure inside the studio was at an all-time high. The real turning point came during Polythene Pam. John Lennon wasn't satisfied with Ringo's drumming, and for the easygoing drummer, that was the last straw. Imagine it. Ringo Starr, the backbone of the group, finally slamming his sticks down in frustration and storming out of the studio. For a couple of days, he was gone. No drums, no rhythm, no Ringo. The most laid-back Beatle had finally snapped, but here's the twist. When he returned, he didn't just play the part. He attacked the drums with fire. That final recording of Polythene Pam has an urgency, an edge, a pulse that feels almost angry. It's raw, it's powerful, and it's Ringo proving that he wasn't just a nice guy behind the kit. He was the engine that gave the Beatles their heartbeat, even in their most fractured state. Looking back, it's clear why the band had to split. They still loved each other as people. Ringo even went on to collaborate with John on Plastic Ono Band, but musically, they were drifting apart. To continue would have meant endless compromises and creative frustration. Instead, they chose to bow out with Abbey Road, an album that still stands as one of the greatest swan songs in music history. The truth is, the Beatles could have kept going. They had the talent, the ideas, and the fan base. But sometimes, the hardest and most powerful decision is knowing when to end the story. And with Ringo Starr's explosive moment on Polythene Pam, we got a glimpse of why the Beatles' ending was inevitable, and why their legacy remains untouchable to this day.